This podcast may contain adult themes.
This podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
The views and opinions in this podcast are expressly our own.
When I get to the workplace, I like to fuck shit up.
Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
Hey, are you tired of toxic workplaces and the negativity that comes with them?
We hear you, and we're here to shake things up. Welcome to Let's Break Up Toxic Workplace Stories, the podcast that's all about breaking up with workplace toxicity.
I'm Nicola, and I'm here with my co-host Gina. Together, we're going to explore real-life experiences of workplace toxicity and offer a sense of encouragement and unity.
That's right. We're tackling the tough topic of negativity in the workplace.
So join us each week as we explore the various forms of toxicity in the workplace. We'll be interviewing guests to share their experiences and offer practical solutions for dealing with workplace toxicity.
Let's Break Up is quickly becoming the go-to source for anyone looking to share and then ditch the drama and help you break up with those toxic workplaces. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell all your friends.
In this week's episode, oh boy, we are pretty excited. We have got a two-parter today, and we're just going to get straight into it. We're just going to get into the meat and potatoes of the entire episode because we have got an anonymous caller calling us and kind of calling us out on some of the things we had in our first few episodes. So it's actually a follow-up from the community, and we're going to get into it in a second, but we did have to divide it up into two because it was so long that we had to end up doing that. Okay, hold on. We're letting our mystery person in who's completely anonymous.
Okay, gotcha. Love it. I'll be here all night.
So excited. We are so excited to finally connect with you.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, I'll try and do my best here. I tried to write things out to where they weren't something like so gossipy and like just bitching about your former workplace, but well, if there's like something that you want to like, if I'm not hitting on the topics or you want to.
Okay, we've got some jotted. I'll actually share it with Gina in the, I'll just share it with Gina so she can remember what we did jot down the first time around.
Okay.
Yeah, because you know my bitch ass probably didn't even look at it the first time.
Yeah,
around,
I know
I would have looked at it like 10 seconds before we actually had the podcast like happening.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm a little disorganized, but I get shit done.
Right.
Also, depression.
That's why I love you.
Yes.
I know.
Well, okay. Well, we will introduce you as our anonymous person who is coming in to interview us.
Are we going to change her voice?
No.
Are we making a robot voice?
I don't know if I'm that skilled at editing.
No, but also like who would want to listen to a podcast with a robot voice? I would be like, this is I can't. No, it's not happening. Okay.
We could turn her into like I don't know if I could though. That would take so much time. But what I can do though is I can strap a thing. I feel like we need to do like a hedgehog or like like something cute, like a talking hedgehog.
Yeah. That would be really cute.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Nicola.
All right. I am so ready for this.
Okay, so
we're
Nicola says that you're asking us questions. Is that rumor true?
I guess just like follow-up questions to the original episodes, and some of them kind of intertwine with things that you've talked about in more recent episodes.
I'm so here for this.
Yeah, but so to like avoid making it like super gossipy and focus on like the toxic workplace that you were in, I guess Nicola, you had mentioned if bullwhip, I don't know if you want to like touch on that. I kind of researched what it was because I didn't really understand it, but there's like a lot of, so I'm a customer of your former workplace or was a customer. So that's kind of how I was like introduced to your podcast because it was posted on a community page. Sure. And there's a lot of frustration within the customer base on how things are dealt with. And it's definitely like the toxicity is trickling over into the customer base. So I guess that's how I kind of like got involved with the follow-up questions. But if you wanted to like touch on the bullwhip effect and how that kind of affects, like, I don't know, it kind of trickled down.
How it affects the customer. That's, you know what, that's actually, I love that we're asking a technical question right up front.
Wait,
Love
so
that.
Nicola, can you, before you go into it, can you explain what the bullwhip effect is? Because not many
Exactly
people.
what I was about to do.
Okay, never mind.
Jeez,
I'll be quiet.
you're hopping. What is a hop? What, you're hopping
Okay.
ahead? You're
Yeah.
hopping? Is it like cupping, but hopping?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, so the bullwhip effect. In summary, and I'm going to use an example of ice creams. You have got an ice cream retailer, and they love making ice creams, and you've got a regular customer base that comes in to eat ice creams. However, one summer, it gets very hot, and you have extra people coming in to eat ice cream. So they sell out really quickly because, ooh, exciting. These ice creams are the best in town. So they sell out of the ice creams.
Now.
So then what happens is the maker of the ice cream shop goes, shit, what if we have this many people again tomorrow? So they get all of their all of the resources to make additional ice creams for tomorrow. However, that heat wave where people are coming in to eat the ice creams is only short-lived. So now you've got this increase in products, but in a couple of days, you're going to have a decrease in customers.
In demand, yeah.
And then that obviously has a flow-on effect because now you've got a waiting time, obviously, for the ice cream boxes to arrive. You've got time for the ice cream cones to arrive. So there's a kind of a gap between the peak of these people coming in and that decrease again. So now you have all this extra stock available. So now you've got all these ice creams and it's not the heat wave anymore. So you've got your standard base customers coming in, but you've got tons of stock, like too much ice cream stock because you were expecting. There's not another heat wave. So you can't sell off all the stock. So now you have to do a sale, or you've got to do something to kind of get rid of this additional stock. Next minute, you've got another bloody heat wave and people are coming to eat your fucking ice cream. Same thing. So it's a bullwhip. So it just keeps
so that just
and reactive.
That just screams to me poor planning, poor use of data, and inability to understand your customer base in a very intimate way.
And I think that's where that frustration came from for the customers, is because there was no concept of that effect. So you would have situations where you have a very exciting product launching and people are like, whoa, this is so cool. Oh, I'm so excited. But then you increase the amount that's available for the next time. And then you've got too much, but the same customer base. And it's not as exciting.
Yeah, I mean, one of my main things was like, we need an S&OP planner. And no, like the COO didn't even know what S&OP was. And I was like, she was like, do you know what it is? Can you do it? I was like, if I was an S&OP planner, I would be doing S&OP. Not only that, but I would be like doing it for you. That is not my expertise. I know how to look at the stuff. I know what they do, but I cannot do what they do. And I still to this day don't think they have one, even though that was someone's rock in the EOS stuff.
Stop it.
I would say probably not, because there's still there was a box that launched about a month ago last year that I think is still on sale on the website, and people are like, what is going on with this box? Like, why is it still here? And they had it marked down like a crazy price, and there's still stock of it. And it's just like,
is that no planning? It's that bullwhip. They didn't understand that concept.
They didn't and they don't, because they're.
And I would be like, stop ordering so much. We don't need this much. We need to be more scarce than we do oversubscribe.
There shouldn't be scarcity or over ordering.
No,
there
should be
planning. That's the thing. There was no planning. There was zero planning. There was zero time for us to be proactive with anything. Because I was head of product. So without the product, there's nothing to buy. So how can I make a good product if you're telling me 40 different things and conveniently forgetting something that you asked for and now you don't want it? Like, it was just such a fucking hot mess.
And it seemed like there was no organization, because the products that sold like really well, like for example, the that you had come up with that people love and still are trying to get their hands on, they've never restocked or like attempted to restock or like let people know.
I created it and I'm dead to everyone.
Well, yeah. Why would you dare be associated with you? Yeah, so that was one of my questions, was like what this whole bullwhip effect thing was and like what was going on with their stock, because it seemed all over the board. They've got so much of these things that no one seemed to like, and then other things like sell out and they're never clear or transparent with if they're going to restock or not, and then they blame it on like supply issues. Yeah.
Which sometimes actually could be truthful, right? Like sometimes there were issues with supply chain, but at the same time, like not enough to actually create the issues that they have.
Yeah, there to be
remember
like,
they were like airing everything in and not accounting for that in the cost of the goods. Or customs. So there's no, I don't understand how they're profiting anyway. Yes,
I genuinely don't.
No, I don't see them like lasting much longer the way on their current trajectory. But that kind of leads me into my next question, is how, like, did the like nepotism and cronyism ever like come off as a red flag? Because I know you had said that it's kind of like a nice way to learn, kind of trial by fire, but it seemed like as a company of this magnitude, it seemed so irresponsible to put like, your husband or your neighbor's best friend in charge of these things that really need to be dealt with by a true professional.
I think, having been there for as long as I did, I appreciate the opportunity that I had to kind of claw my way up the ladder. But I think, absolutely, the nepotism and the cronyism was extreme, and it still is extreme. There's a very small handful of people that are not, like probably two in the entire organization, that are not associated somehow with the core team.
Like that are not either related by law or genetics,
religious purposes,
not from the religious
community, school, high school.
And I have to ask though, is the religious church, is it Hillsong?
We don't.
I don't know. No idea.
I would have no idea.
Fucking zero idea.
And I don't know because I didn't realize that they all knew each other, and I would always go to Nicola and be like, who's this person? And she'd be like, oh, it's so-and-so's like sister-in-law's friend or whatever. And I was like, what? It was like beyond shocking to me. And I am spiritual. I believe that there's something bigger than myself out there, but I'm not religious. So it was never anything I spoke to them about. So I wouldn't know, but I wouldn't put it past them, because I know about Hillsong.
I don't know. So one of the things that the COO, here's a little bit of gossipy insight. One of the things that the COO kept pushing on me was that she followed a similar product, but it was it was a religious-based similar product. And she would push on me to do similar marketing based off of that business. And I was like, yeah, nah, bruh.
Yeah, but we're not technically like affiliated with any sect, denomination, organization, or religion.
No, and I was
so
like,
why
no,
would we do that?
Thank you.
Mystery guest, you were gonna say something. What were you gonna say about Hillsong?
So I watched the Hillsong documentary and how.
Wait, where is it?
Wait, there's a documentary? I'm so on board.
I think.
Where did you watch it?
Well, so I watched two cult-like documentaries. They covered cults. I watched Hillsong. It's probably been a year, but I think it was on Hulu. And how this like cult-like mentality. So I was like, okay, I wonder if this stems from this, mega church that's.
And it very well could. I think that's a very good point, but unfortunately, I don't know. And Nicola I never thought to ask, because I was still uncovering the ways people were related, even to my last day. So, and it wouldn't be something that I would even think to ask, but I think it's a very like relevant thing to point out, because it very well could have been.
Yeah. And then I just watched the LuLaRoe
Oh yeah.
documentary on Amazon, which I've never purchased from LuLaRoe, but
Me
I
neither.
was watching and I was like, this literally, I mean, you could replace this with your former workplace and I'd see no difference.
There
But
is
like,
no
Neither
difference.
do we. We do not see a difference.
There is no difference because it's
Now
led
that we're
by,
out.
yeah.
right. It's led by a charismatic leader who everyone like sucks up to. But at the end of the day, like maybe that would work if she actually had business acumen and was a professional business person. But the just because you have the idea doesn't mean you're automatically going to be good at creating a business out of the idea. And I keep going back to this. You need to hire people who know what they're doing. So when they hired me, it was very clear I knew what I was doing, right, Nicola? Like, I'm not just blowing smoke up my ass. Like, we're honest with each other that you would tell me, I know what I'm doing. I'm extremely good at what I do, and I prove it every day. But they didn't like that. Why? You have to ask yourself why.
Because it puts their insecurities into
Well, I
into
think
the
they
fore,
felt threatened, like I was going to actually like shape up and ship out the whole thing. But how can I if I'm not the owner?
Well, that
So-
kind of like they preach this, you know, mental health core value, but then they essentially bully you, Gina, into being someone you're not, and then like push you out. And after they essentially ask you for help, because that's what they were doing by hiring you.
Right. And the fact that at my like 60-day review or whatever it was, I was asked by the COO, who is half my age with absolutely zero background to have the position she has, with like, I don't think she ever had a job before, but yet she was my direct, like I reported directly to her. She asked me if I could handle it. I was so offended. I was like, I'm sorry, can I handle this little fucking shitty company that I've never even heard of before? Meanwhile, I'm interacting with like LVMH, like
Can you just
Shiseido, like
describe who LVMH is? Because when you said it the first time, like no one.
Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, like they own everything. They own like like Sephora, like all these big names. They're huge. So I guess I couldn't handle their podunk company.
Okay, so that also leads me into another question. So I know it started off as kind of a one-woman show, but it's since grown quite a bit, it seems like, but they still kind of operate under this guise of a small business. Like, how small are they? Because they can't be that.
Look, they don't have more than, let's call it, tops. I wouldn't know now because I've been out for a year.
But what would your number be of actually employed salaried people?
Employed salaried people, like tops, maybe 10 tops.
That's what I would say. But then there's a lot of other players that are either like influencers in the community that are involved, but I don't think they're salaried. Because when I went back to them and said like, hey, you need to offer me Cobra, they said, we don't have 20 people employed. Like that's the law. Yeah. And I didn't realize that because I had no idea who, like there were so many like cooks in the kitchen. I had no idea who would be employed and who would be contracted. So I'd say top 10
tops. But also I think, and kind of talking about that small business, right? They would be huge if they knew how to manage their money, which they do not. So one of my tasks before Gina started was to review the budget and to give every department a budget, right? So I have an MBA. I would hope that I think, sometimes imposter syndrome doesn't help, but I would hope that I kind of know what I'm doing. So one of my tasks was to review the budget, and we were literally bleeding money. And every comment was not around how do we solve bleeding money. It was like, we've got to let people go if we're bleeding this much money. So I said, no, what we need to do is we need to cause like a static line of budgeting that is only for employees and employees' mental health. So that way we stop causing stress on people and saying, we're going to let people go immediately. Oh my God, we can't make, the money. And then work out where it is that we're bleeding money. And the key place we were bleeding money was shipping. That was the first one. And then the second one was like miscellaneous spending, like weird spending, where we just pressed yes on approve everything. And those were the two spots where it was literally just like a sieve leaking out of the business. So if they could get that under control, they would be not a small business anymore.
No,
But
they could do really well. They just
could.
don't know how.
They
And
don't.
when someone like myself or Nicola came in and started like, opening the
Looking at it.
curtain and saying like, your vendors are shit. You can get this for cheaper. You can make more of a profit, but they don't understand the difference between profit and revenue. They don't understand the idea that there's two different metrics you need to look at. You need to look at cost of goods and cost of goods sold. Right. So they didn't know that. They called everything cost of goods
COGS.
sold.
Yeah.
Right. They called everything COGS. One's a COG, one is a COGS with an S. I had to explain that to them, and they've been in business for 5 years. Why is this my job? Like, and the fact that they never like rolled up the cost properly. They didn't include customs. They didn't include shipping. They didn't include warehousing fees. Like, even if you're just using a standard numeric, like an average for warehousing fees, you're going to get a lot closer to the true cost of that item for the company so that you can put an adequate profit on it. They just would slap the number that we would get from the manufacturing company. Like, let's say you approached me and said, I want 10,000 units of this item, this pencil. And I said, okay, 10,000 units will be 10 cents each. And they would just say, okay, 10 cents. That's what it costs us to have this pencil. Then they would add 65% markup on it. Meanwhile, they end up losing money because shipping is expensive, duty is expensive, so on and so forth.
If you understand basic economics, right? Like, let's go, I'm talking like basic maths, essentially, not even basic economics. If you're just understanding basic economics, and I know Gina can elaborate this, but let's say the product costs $10 and it costs $5 to ship to you from the manufacturer, and you sell it for $20. Technically, you should be making a $5 profit, right? What happens though is the customer, let's say it costs $15 to actually get to us. And then you miscalculated the production cost. So it's actually costing $20 to get to you. You've charged $5 for shipping, and now you've sold it. So now you've sold it for $25. You're essentially, selling it at a loss at this point, which is what was happening.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
The shipping is still a huge issue. And no one can understand why they are shipping things the way they are. I mean, they've switched to sending everything out in either padded or unpadded mailer, which is
cheaper.
Yeah, well, it is cheaper, but they also like preach sustainability, which
Can I go off on this? Nothing they do is done in an eco-conscious, whatever the word you want to do, environmentally responsible way. Nothing. And that is one of the first things you see on their website. And I am here to say they are lying to their consumers. Nothing they do is environmentally friendly. When I attempted to make changes, first of all, I wasn't there long enough to actually see the changes through, but I had started getting them to start looking at FSC paper. And the CEO said, the FSC paper, there's no difference between the regular paper. I'm like, no, there wouldn't be. FSC means it's sustainably sourced. The paper doesn't change. There's no elements in the paper that's different. It just, you have a chain of custody. You can understand, like you can see that it was sustainably sourced from a sustainable forest, whatever it is. So the fact that she's in this industry where paper is used predominantly, and she doesn't know the difference between an FSC certified item that's made of paper and not, just goes to show you the level of immaturity and inexperience we're dealing with. She also thought that one of the paper items was completely on the market, that she made it, and it was a weight of a certain paper, whereas that paper has been readily available on the market for centuries, years and years, like decades, like way before she was born. Like if I said I want X amount of weight of this paper to any paper supplier, whether it's here, Israel, China, Vietnam, they'd be like, you got it. What color you want? It is not specialty. Also, the amount of plastic shrink wrap and stupid packaging that I got rid of, everything. I was like, this is all got to go.
Yeah, well, they still shrink wrap everything. They did get rid of belly
Not
band.
recyclable.
That was
shrink
me.
wrap.
I got rid
Let's
of the
be
belly
clear.
band and the sticker on the back of the items because I was like, there's no reason for it. A, it's extra labor. B, it's extra money. And C, you're already printing on the box. Just print the info on the box. Period.
Well, they started sending out these mailers and they're like, well, it's more sustainable and it's cheaper. We're trying to cut down on shipping costs. I'm like, how is it cutting down on shipping costs when you're replacing entire orders because they are coming damaged?
I also don't think that that's just from the packaging they choose. I just think that they're not using vendors who are reputable.
Yeah, I mean,
But
that's
and also, I can tell you there's no quality assurance in place for
Zero.
quality control.
There is a
overseas.
particular product right now that is on the market that I am astounded is still on the market. It is a known issue and they have not dealt with that
Okay.
issue.
Wait, do we want to still talk about sustainability in this company, or should we go off on?
Can we just pause here for a second and remind people that if this podcast is something you enjoy, we would love to hear from you.
You can find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Let's Break Up Toxic Workplace Stories.
Sharing and subscribing really helps us feel validated.
Referring to anonymous guest, what would you like us to explain?
What would
Oh.
you like, anonymous guest?
go. I mean, I'm good for either one. I am a little annoyed. I mean, the piece what got me interested in the company because I kept seeing this ad on IG and I'm like, what the fuck? And they could have just said it's a fucking paint pen.
It is a fucking paint pen. Goodbye. Thank you.
We will bleed
It's
all
not-
of the products out. Just FYI for everybody involved in this conversation, I will bleep out all of the
Yeah, so we
identifying
can
products.
refer to it as whatever, but remember what I talked about, the weight of paper that the CEO thought she came up with? That's the same concept with the paint pens you're talking about. She
Yeah.
thought she made them from scratch when she absolutely didn't. And she also thought that they're assembled in China. Here's the kicker. I was told by multiple people within the organization that the ink was specialty made in Italy. Now, if you know anything about sourcing, China doesn't source, so they would use a vendor to source the ink and then assemble the pen and make the different components. The only way you're getting specialty ink from outside of China is by doing it yourself or having a known vendor who does specialty ink, ordering the ink from them, shipping it to the assembly. So I asked the vendor, I said, hey, are you guys sourcing this ink from Italy or anywhere else outside of China? And they were like, no, which I know because that's how China works. Like, so like the fact that the person who was doing product development before me and the CEO and COO didn't understand that was mind blowing. They were telling me blue in the face, no, it's specialty ink from Italy. And I was like, there's like, that doesn't happen. I've been to China. I've been working with China for 18 something years. Like, I know for a fact that doesn't happen. And so they were really annoyed when I was like, by the way, it's not sourced in Italy. Like, who came up with a fucking rumor, you dumb bitches? Like, it was probably the CEO and COO. Like, it's so fucking stupid. What a waste of my time. Why did I have to go on like a deep dive of that?
Well, they can't like be honest with themselves. I mean, the are just in a different package.
And
I
honestly,
know.
but
Also, I would like to take a little aside here just for a pat on the back for myself and to explain how this company actually works. So I took the initiative to see if any of these big brands like what's the other one? Yeah, and there was one other that they really liked. So I approached each individual company
Homo.
and said, hey, like without being prompted, I was like, how cool would it be if they could private label? Because we know their pens are good. Also, I was unsure if things were really not toxic because they hadn't been tested in the proper way to really claim non-toxicity. So I was like, I would feel so much better having a well-known manufacturer private label these pens so it can like alleviate some of the questions that I have about it. So 2 of the 3 said, no, we don't private label. Like, these are our trademarked, whatever, patented pens, go F yourself. And I was like, okay. Said, we can't private label, but we're very open to doing a collaboration. And I thought that was pretty fucking amazing, because it would have been like the company we were working for, our packaging, but with custom curated colors within that packaging. So it would be like a true collaboration. And nobody else has that. Do you think anyone else was as excited about it as I was?
I would have been excited.
Yeah.
Why
Nobody
didn't you
gave
tell
a
me?
shit.
I would have been excited.
Nobody fucking gave a shit. And
Yeah,
I was like, this is fucking a huge fucking deal. It was mind blowing. And I was going through with it. And I was like, it was like pulling teeth to get anything done. And of course it hasn't been collaborated with, because without me, nothing fucking good happens in the product side.
The ridiculousness.
No, I've had it. I've had it. Like, come at me for my
crazy.
opinion.
Well, they don't listen to, well, it's obviously their employees with any sense, and they don't listen to any customers who have any like remotely negative feedback.
I listened to customers, I promise. I did listen to customers, and I tried really hard to help. I did.
Well, it definitely was apparent when you guys left, because it has since really like gone downhill. It was like overtly apparent.
That's
How? Yeah, tell us how. I'm interested.
Thanks, babe. You know what?
Quality?
Let's take a moment there. Thanks, babe.
The quality like absolutely sucks. The shipping is just terrible. It's an ongoing like nightmare. I don't know how they're in business.
Can you explain how it's a nightmare with the shipping?
Like,
from
I'm
the
curious
consumer
to know, because
end?
obviously I knew what the shipping problems were a year ago.
Yeah,
and
so things might have changed.
And I was
also
very,
it's important to know.
Yeah, and I was also very clear about how we need to be like, yeah, it costs a little bit more, but we can shave off costs in other places, but we need to put things in boxes because people care about the products that they get.
I was in the process of
making
making custom boxes that like 3 standard sizes, and then you would just like put it in a recyclable bubble wrap that I was designing. None of that has happened. First of all, the creative director, who is mediocre at best, poo-pooed all of the ideas because they were not on brand. I'm like, oh, is being on brand drawing like a 12-year-old little flowers? Okay, sorry. We're way better than that now. Like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I love
I brought the heat today. I'm in a shitty mood, so like
I'm like, wow, tell us how you really feel, babe.
I fucking went off. But am I wrong, Nicola?
No.
Okay.
No, you're not. So I'm curious to know, from a customer's perspective, what is it right now that is the pain point?
So I don't know the timeline exactly, but I noticed around this time last year. So I had just signed up for the I got my March it was packaged beautifully, everything was perfect, nothing was damaged. Then I get my June box, and it comes in like a refrigerator box. It is so giant, and then there's like a couple of those air pocket things to protect it. It doesn't like fill the box, but there's a few in there, and it's just like rolling around this huge refrigerator.
So it's a box in a box, right? It's a in a bigger box.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was all right because nothing was damaged, but I was like, why did they ship it in this absurdly large box that's nothing else that is in here? So then my next order, and I don't even remember when I ordered next, but it came in an unpadded mailer, and everything was beat to shit. Everything had dents in it. Not only like the boxes that things came in, but the products inside the boxes were beat up. And that was not like my only experience. That was dozens, if not hundreds of people's experience. Everyone was bitching on these Facebook groups, on these Facebook pages, either run by your company or
associated with.
Yeah, associated with. And everyone was very unhappy, but I emailed, customer service and mentioned like, this doesn't seem to be like effective. Maybe we should change it, or maybe you should start shipping things in boxes again. And they're like, thanks for letting us know, and nothing ever changed.
Hey, person, so thankful that you reached out to us. We don't give a shit about your opinion. Fuck right off. Regards.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah, and instead of
heart emoji.
yeah. And instead of offering to replace the items, they said that they could give me like a 35% off my next order.
So
Which
that's very interesting because one of their mottos was we'll do anything. What was it exactly?
Make everything like it was a motto around providing customers with the best service. There we go.
Lots of companies are like the customer's 100% right all the time and we'll fix it. Like
yes,
that's essentially what it was.
Customers right will make it better.
And we'll make it better for them if there's an issue.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to know that they did not do that.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because it was like, and it's been this way on they had a fall release where they did that like fan favorite, we bring back these products that everyone really loved, but they misprinted one, and instead of sending out the right product or refunding everyone's money, they offered a 25% discount on the next order, or you could get half of your money back.
So here's what I have to say about that is that I placed that order, the bring back the favorite ones. So a little background on that is that I was encouraging the company, listen, we should utilize reordering. It's quick. You don't need a sample. You, if it's an exact reorder, you're good to go. So they were like, that's a great idea, right? Okay. So they asked me, what's the timeline looking for if we do a reorder? So in my head, I'm thinking we're going to reorder like 5 SKUs, maybe 10 SKUs max.
Because that's the standard.
That's a standard. Okay. So the COO is supposed to give me the order. So she's late on giving me the order. When I open the order, it is literally over 200 SKUs. Literally. It took me a full day to get all the purchase orders out to the different vendors. Then I was chastised when I told them, listen, we're not going to make the in-hands date. Like there's no possible way. And I was told, and then the COO went around me to the vendor, bullied him into saying something different, didn't tell me. And then I was told, why didn't I come up with a solution? Does anyone have anything to say about that? How is it my problem when I'm going from thinking one thing, then I open this fucking shit and it's literally 200 SKUs. And I know there's no way in the production industry that you can make that in 10 days and then get it on a boat, even if we're shipping with the fast service, right? How? But yet somehow it was my fault that I didn't give them a solution. In what world is that okay? I would actually like feedback. Crickets?
We're not shipping specialists. We're not shipping crickets.
No, but I think that is a great indication of what the unrealistic expectations and demands were of this company.
Excuse me, can we circle back to unrealistic expectations? Can we please fucking circle back to unrealistic expectations?
I just want to reiterate, like 200 SKUs. 200.
No, I'm going to reiterate that. I'm going to take that and I'm going to say, let me tell you about unrealistic expectations. There was a particular product that we were going to create specifically for our staff. We're going to stop right here. This is the end of part 1, and we would love for you to head over to part 2. We're going to release it tomorrow morning, so please get ready. We are going to continue this conversation and tell you more about the unrealistic expectations that were placed on us.
Thank you for joining us today. If you would like to share your story, we would love to hear from you.
Also, leaving a review helps us create more content because it shows us there's an interest in this topic.
For those of our listeners who do better with reading, we have closed caption available on YouTube.
See you next week, same time and same place.